Tottenham 3, Leicester City 1. They go back fourth in the Premier League. A goal from Harry Kane and a brace again from the informed, the scintillating Heung-min Son. Tottenham go fourth and they lay the gauntlet down to Arsenal that kick off in just over 30 minutes time. And at the bottom of the table, Everton absolutely come up trumps. They beat Chelsea 1-0, who are really struggling for form at this moment in time. They give themselves a glimmer. They give themselves the hope of staying up. But Chelsea's season, under the veil of this takeover, is starting to slowly crumble away. I want you to do me a favor today on the Football Terrace. We want your highlights. We want your fan reactions. Smash that like and share button. Link to be shared with you soon to come in and have your say. Let's do this.
Absolutely magnificent.
Spurs go back fourth in the Premier League table. And you see there, nice one, Sonny. Nice one, son. He was absolutely scintillating, sensational, and brilliant today. A slow start from Tottenham, no shadow of a doubt. They're kind of slow starters invariably under Antonio Conte, but clinical and clutch to boot on many, many occasions this year. And whenever they're not the favourites, whenever they're kind of, it's not within their power, you seem to see this Antonio Conte team turn up, especially in the league. It's going to be intriguing to know how things transpire after the Arsenal game. Will Arsenal go back fourth? Will Arsenal drop points? Who becomes the favourites? But we're getting down to the wire now, and it was a comfortable, emphatic performance, brilliant finishes from Tottenham, and they put the game to bed. They put the game to bed early. Some great goals in there as well. I know they conceded towards the end, but that isn't really going to bother anybody involved with Tottenham whatsoever. True Gunners TV here says Chelsea could get dragged into the top four race. It's mad. Do you know what's crazy about it? They already should be. It's been the inconsistencies of Arsenal, Man United a few weeks back, and Tottenham that's enabled Chelsea to stay. It's not been Chelsea's form that's kept them away. It's been everybody else dropping inexplicable points. If you think about the amount of draws United had in games they dominated a couple of months ago, the Southamptons, the Burnleys, the Aston Villas, Arsenal, of course, going through that period of there's 3 defeats on the bounce, especially against lesser teams. You know, even if they could picked up 5-6 points in that period, they'd be pretty much level with Chelsea right now. And of course, Tottenham, beating Man City, then losing points to Burnley. 2 games on the bounce up until today where they hadn't won is really kind of kept Chelsea at bay. The season is really petering out for Chelsea. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. And I think Chelsea fans are going to be highly frustrated. They're going to this FA Cup final in I think it's 2 weeks' time. And they're really poor right now. Defensively, they're not sound. There's a lack of cohesiveness across the whole team. Players like Rudiger and Aspie and Thiago Silva that have looked so strong this year, they just look a shadow of them former selves. And it's not being spoken about enough, but I think the takeover is taking its toll. Super Chat here says, trust me, Terry, when I say I don't give 2 craps about the top 4 race, but the relegation battle is so exciting. What a win by Everton. And it was the crowd, the noise, the atmosphere, the energy of seeing the fans there celebrate was sensational, absolutely impeccable, sensational, and amazing. And for me, when I look at Everton, the only thing I would say, and again, this isn't salty, is where were these performances? Where were these moments? Where was this before this period? Where was this before you were in this relegation scrap towards the end? If they turned up, I've seen Everton in recent weeks against Liverpool be resolute, be unlucky not to get at least a point against City, beat Man United, beat Chelsea. Where are these performances against the bottom half of the table? That's the one thing that I'll be challenging as an Everton fan once all the dust settles on this situation. Now, if you want to call in, I've shared the link below. I want to hear from you today. I want to hear about the relegation battle, the top 4 battle. Of course, Arsenal kicking off in 28 minutes' time. We'll be live after that game against West Ham United as well. Ruined my Sunday is what this Liverpool fan here. I suppose Liverpool fans probably do feel like their Sunday has been ruined. Derek here, a Football Terrace member, says how Chelsea lost to Everton. Listen, Chelsea have lost to them. United have lost to them. They were good enough to, in my opinion, pretty much stop City. They should have had a penalty. Most penalties are converted, and especially at home. They would have got a point from that game. When that crowd's up, when those players work hard and stay in formation, they can win football matches. The hard thing for them is the Sean Dyche sacking can be what saves Burnley. I swear Burnley have won 4 on the bounce since then. It's a madness. It was a psychological masterclass by Lamps. He knew exactly how to aggravate his old players, especially Havertz. Chelsea looked like they didn't want to be there. Charity FC back at it again. Do you know what's really interesting about that take? And I will say this, is the mentality today shown from Everton was different. Chelsea players, I feel like they're off on the beach, and there's a real big worry about this. The form they've got going into this FA Cup final is really poor. It's very, very poor indeed, and should be worried. You really, not being able to beat Man United and Everton, 2 of the worst footballing sides in the Premier League in back-to-back games. Of course, losing to Arsenal just over a week ago as well. It's been a rough week or so. Even in the league, most Chelsea fans are comfortable they're going to finish in the top 4. I can't see them falling out of it now. I think there's a 5-point gap, if I'm not mistaken, maybe less. There's a 5-point gap. If Arsenal win today, there'll be a 3-point gap. I can't see there being a 6-point swing them versus Tottenham and a 5-point swing, 4-point swing, between them and Arsenal. For them both to happen, that means that Arsenal and Spurs have to win all their games, but they play each other. So Chelsea are safe in relation to that, but I think there's more at hand. Man like Prime here says props to Spurs too. They got the job done relatively easily. Kane and Son, amazing. More like Kane and The Undertaker. Listen, they are an impeccable pair. And I was looking at this statistic that was shared earlier on today about Heung-min Son. And it's all this season, I think it's 31 appearances in the Premier League, 28 GA. And a lot of people don't like GA. A lot of people are like, well, what about the eye? Listen, eye test-wise, Son's brilliant. We know he can dribble, he can pass. He's a good finisher. He looks good. The eye test is there, but he also has the most important element for any attacker. He has the goal contributions and he has the outputs. He's a sensational football player. He truly is. And him and Kane and Son, they're the difference makers. I know Kulusevski's coming in done well. Bentancur, Lloris makes some good saves here and there, but without Son and Kane, Spurs just wouldn't be where they are right now, that they wouldn't, but absolutely impeccable performance. This is not on Thomas Tuchel. He put the right team he thought could win. Complete letdown today. Big up Terry and everybody. Thank you very much there, DJ, my guy. Look, I feel a bit sorry for Thomas Tuchel. I don't think this has been discussed enough. This takeover is taking its toll. I saw links, and I haven't read them too deeply because I've had a bit of time away this week, recharge the batteries. I'm doing match reactions predominantly. But how do I say this in the right way? There's big links in papers like, they're not newspapers, but like publications like The Athletic about Premier League teams putting packages together to try and take Mason Mount away. Rudiger hasn't renewed. Other players are looking at leaving. They're not able to talk to their transfer targets properly yet, where all the other clubs are already doing summer work. This is all going to take its toll. This is all going to impact how Chelsea play and how Chelsea perform, because there's uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty and the future is murky, the future is muddy, there's a fear factor, it takes away from your performance. And if you think about your personal life, whether it be a situation at home, whether it be a health scare, a financial problem, how hard is it for you to concentrate sometimes at work? Because it's there, it's irking away at you in the back of your mind. And these things matter when you've got players and managers that come to Chelsea for one reason only, is to win the big trophies. And until you know who the new owners are, what the transfer strategy looks like, what the future plan looks like at the football club, it's a really hard place to be right now. And I think it's not an excuse, but I just think it's taken its toll on the team. I really, really do. I really do. Let's have a little look here at some more of these comments before we bring the call. Loads of callers coming on today. Alan Clark's there, Matt's there, Young Dan's there, Terry Tibbs, Nathaniel, Gary the Lion, and a few more. We're going to get some people on to have their say on the terrace. I've got some super chats here first. That says Leeds, who are fighting relegation, have a home game against Chelsea. It's actually going to be a 3-horse top 4 race. Can't believe it. Is what I'm going to try and pronounce that first name right. Kathik is how I'm reading it. It might be wrong. I'm very sorry if it is. Jerome says Don Robbie did predict that Everton would beat Chelsea. Probably the juju from Nigeria. Listen, it's relegation teams playing against sides out of form. If you've watched Premier League football long enough, this is not. I've seen this before. I've seen this happen. No shadow of a doubt. I've seen this before. Chelsea cemented is what's being said there. Imagine if Chelsea miss. Listen, if Chelsea miss out on the top 4, I'd be so shocked. I'd be so shocked. But if they did, it'd be an epic failure of a season. And then if they don't win the FA Cup either, I'd love to hear Chelsea fans' views and opinions on that. I really, really would. West Ham almost best starting 11. They rested Antonio only, so that they really want to be 6th in the Premier League because that German team knocked them out or beat them in. Yeah, listen, look, Arsenal want to win this game, and West Ham are going to try and win this game because at the very least they want Europa League football again next year. So they want European football again next year, and they're fighting for that. Mount is garbage. He is West Ham level like Rice, is what KC has got to say here. Terrace stop mate. It's not an excuse to say that for Chelsea. It's a reason. I know what the football world wants when you give a reason why a team is failing. They want you to just say Thomas Tuchel shit, Chelsea players bad. They want it to be really simplistic and easy, but we just don't do that here on the Terrace. Do you know what I mean? Jerome here says, looks like the FA Cup is already in Liverpool's hands the way Chelsea are playing. They need to pull their finger out. They need a performance soon. They need something because this is a team that should have been challenging for the title, but at the start of the season. Chelsea have been poor ever since the takeover. Spurs were poor today, but the individual brilliance of Son, Kane, Romero, Bentancur, and Kulusevski won the game. I think when you have that many players, you start to move beyond individual brilliance. You got to think that's like part of the core that Antonio Conte is going to build on. You start you improve on Emerson Royale, you improve on the left back situation, you add another midfield player into that team, and you'll see that more cohesive approach. But I do get where you're coming from, and thank you, sir, for that wonderful super chat. It means a great deal to the Terrace today. Big up. Hopefully the Hammers beat Arsenal. Listen, I'd love to see the Hammers do it today. I'd love another cat, or at least get a draw. I'd like another cat thrown amongst the pigeons. However, an Arsenal win and maybe one more Chelsea defeat, and we get a whole different top 4 race than we expected going into those last few games. Chelsea probably has the worst goal-to-shot attempts amongst the top 6 teams. So much for selling out millions and millions on Lukaku and Havertz is what Jason has got to say here. This game shows how important it is to get the ownership saga sorted because we need to get into the transfer market early and spend big is what Guyan has got to say here. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans would agree with you on that point. Now we're going to start going to your calls. We're going to speak to Chelsea fans, Spurs fans alike today. Make sure you're staying with us. What are we on likewise right now? We're sitting there on just under 200 likes. Let's get this past at least 500 while we are live on the air, my people. If you're a Spurs fan, Chelsea fan, or a neutral to those teams, hit that like button right now. Time for the calls. Time to get the boys out to have their say. First on the show, I'm going to speak to a Spurs fan, Alan. I'm then going to be speaking to Matt, and then we're going to start going through everybody else. Let me just find the right button here because I'm doing it alone. Let's do this. Alan, welcome back to the show. Congrats on the 3 points. The top 4 race is still fire.
No, I've given up on that. The thing that's annoyed me most is that those poor performances against Brighton and Brentford would be sitting level with Chelsea. That's what's annoyed me most with this Spurs team. But yeah, it was a better performance today. For me, people are saying about Son and Kane and all that's fine. But for me, the man of the match today was Romero. I thought he was absolutely enormous at the back. Clearances when Leicester got in, leading the back line, fierce in the tackle, leading by example. And it was the one who basically set off Højbjerg and the people up front as well to do the same. So I thought he was great. Son, obviously scoring a wonder goal as he can do. Kulusevski, when he came on, just looked completely a different class to Moura. I think he's going to be going in the summer. Like you said, that super chat, the core of the team is there for Antonio Conte to build on. There's a lot of rubbish we've got to replace, and then hopefully we can go again for next season. But if you give this manager the right backing and let him get who he wants for that, especially for his system, then I reckon we'll be there or thereabouts next season. But it's just depending on what he's given and tools to do the job. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was a good performance compared to the last two, because the last two performances, if you didn't stop the Brighton game and you didn't start the Brentford game, you didn't know there was a break in the middle, you'd think it was just one big shit fest. That's how bad we were. But yeah, happy with the performance this time round. And now we've got the daunting possibility to go away to Liverpool and try and do what we did against Man City, stick 6 behind the ball and counter them. That's all we can do, really.
Well, this is, that game against Liverpool is huge now. Of course, top four and title race implications. It's going to be a massive, massive super. I think it's on Sunday. Is it Sunday or Saturday? The game? Saturday evening. It's going to be a huge game next Saturday to see who comes out on top. And literally, I mean, the Arsenal. That's why today was so important, because Arsenal play second. Some would say they're the favourites to beat West Ham. Their home record is pretty good. It's Arsenal, but I suppose it's this element of, because you've got Tottenham next. Liverpool next. Arsenal dropping points today gives you a little bit of an insurance policy going away to the toughest ground in England next.
Exactly. That's what has to happen. But like I said, obviously, we're having to rely on Arsenal's shortcomings, but it was because of our own shortcomings we're in this position. So it's typical Spurs, always is that way and all that. It's just the I don't know, punishment for being a Spurs fan. It's always that way. But yeah, I mean, the only way, like I said, we'll go away to Liverpool. I don't see Conte doing anything different than what he did against Man City, just sticking everyone behind the ball, frustrate life out of them, trying to hit him on the counter-attack. We go toe-to-toe, especially with some of the garbage we got at our wing-backs, and we're going to they're going to exploit us, and it's going to be an absolute hammering. But yeah, I don't want that to happen. But yeah, Bentancur played better today as well. Just want to throw that out there. I thought because he does keep the ball and just pass side to side, but he was taking initiative, driving forward with the ball and all that. So it's good signs with the core that we're building for this season. But yeah, I mean, also there was a couple of comments saying about there should have been a sending off for the tackle on Kane. No, don't be silly. It was a yellow card. I saw a couple of comments on Twitter, so I just wanted to put that out there. People that are saying that are just... No, it wasn't a red card.
I mean, I thought it was based on it was studs in the shin. But what I was saying during the game was those kind of tackles in recent weeks and months have not been given as red cards. It's almost like there's been this new unwritten rule of we're going to try and keep 11 players on the pitch. It's almost got to be like a full-blown toe punt in the face or a punch now to get someone sent off, it seems. But I'm not really against it too much. But listen, Al, absolutely appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. And we'll chat again soon, my brother. Thank you, my friend.
Take it easy.
Take care. Thank you. Next on the show, we're speaking to Chelsea fan Matt. We're talking to Spurs, Chelsea fans, and neutrals today after two big Premier League results. Matt is here with me from down under. Chelsea just have lost again. It's getting a little bit hairy. What are you saying, Matt?
Fucking man, I don't know what to say about this shit, man. Fucking absolute. It's 1 a.m. here, man. It was thankfully it was an early game. It's just a bit of a roller coaster emotion, stress levels is a bit high at the moment, but everyone was fucking garbage. There's not one player who was playing well today. I don't want to hear no fucking Loftus shit in playing well. This man had one fucking shot and we're praising this guy. Stop it. Everyone was fucking garbage. I've never seen a worse performance from everyone. Normally, like last week when we played United, we were shocking, but we had Reece James come outstanding. Today, not one fucking player was good, and that's embarrassing. We have to look at this because we could be in a top 4 race if we don't win the next game, and Arsenal win. Spurs just fucking won 3-0. Like, how are we this bad?
What do you put it down to? Why do you think there has been such a fall off from Chelsea?
That's a great question. I could go on for about an hour, but I think the major reason is we're not resting players in the right times. However, we've got injury crisis. We've got players in the middle. We've got Jorginho, and then we take him off at halftime. I'm begging that is an injury because if Tuchel took Jorginho off at halftime and put Kovacic on with Loftus-Cheek, I'm going to be really, really, really be mad at Tuchel because that is fucking disgraceful. We can't be doing that. So I love Jorginho. He's one of my favorite players, but I hope it's an injury because I don't want him to be taken off tactically. And then now that's going to even go more to our problems. Kovacic was forced to play this game, and now going in next week, we've got another Jorginho injured. So now we've got no starting midfielders really because Kante's injured. So a lot of the problems, going back to that question, is majority of our injuries, not rotating players properly, and most of all, having absolutely garbage players. Like Tuchel looks at his bench and he goes, shit, I've got a £100 million fucking lamppost on the bench. What am I going to do with him? Doesn't even bring him on this game. He has to bring Pulisic, Ziyech. They do absolutely nothing. So we've got no squad depth. We thought we had that. I said this last season, we've got one of the best squad depth in the team. We've got nothing. We look at our bench, we've got Jack Shib, we've got Kennedy, we brought from fucking JFK Kennedy, we brought from Brazil, and he's doing nothing here. Like, it's absolutely shocking. But I always take one positive, and I always try to look at this positive when we have a loss of a game, that I can open Twitter and I don't need to see Ashford West fucking tits in my face when we lose a game, because I'm sick of that. And I always take that as a positive. For Chelsea fans, take that as a positive. But fuck, man, it's too much, man. It's too much.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I've seen a few Chelsea fans say they don't want to win the FA Cup because they don't want another video being released. Bro, I appreciate you coming on and having your say, and I sense the frustration and anger. I really do. Top man, Matt, and we'll speak again soon, brother.
Take care,
Thank
Terry.
you. Cheers. Thank you. Yeah, look, I get the frustration that Chelsea fans are going through. It almost feels, it's funny, really. I didn't do a Chelsea match reaction last weekend. It was my son's birthday party. And I kind of tweeted about it and said, I'm sorry, I won't be doing it. And the Chelsea fan reaction was, didn't even deserve a match reaction. And I know that Chelsea are almost playing for nothing in Premier League games. The games are like dead rubbers. I've never seen a match reaction to a Man United Chelsea game be so quiet and bland and no one really caring. And I suppose that's part of it as well, is that feeding into these players. But they've got to snap out of that because there's a big final to play soon. Dan's coming on soon. Terry Tibbs on soon. Alex on soon as well. But man like CFC Jem is with us now. Long time no speak, Jem. How you feeling, mate?
How am I meant to feel? Blimmin' hell, mate. I haven't been on here in a while. What an introduction, eh? Come and talk about a game that we've gone and lost like that. Listen, look, Charity FC strikes again, isn't it? Really? Like, what else can we do? You know, we like giving points to teams that need it. And today, a bit like what Matt said, the performance wasn't there. We wasn't good enough. But we haven't been good enough for the last couple of games. And when you look at the performance today, I said on Twitter, I said, one of the most predictable things about Chelsea is that you can always kind of tell, depending on the pattern of the game, how it's going to go. And in the first half, we were so predictable and slow. Wasn't moving the ball quick enough. We never really looked like we want to break teams down. We only play at one speed, which is our own speed. And when we lose games, a lot of the times when we lose games, it's usually because of our own individual mistakes, our own individual errors. And I'm not trying to say that teams can't score great goals against Chelsea, but of recent, if you look at the goals that Chelsea have conceded, it always falls down to a lack of concentration. Azpilicueta done it today. Real Madrid with Benzema was at the game when it happened with Mendy, same thing. We consistently just give goals away where we just completely lack concentration for that one split moment. And we got punished for it ultimately. And the mad thing is, we look like we're on holiday, Terry. We look like we've got third, but we haven't got third. Arsenal go and win today. They're 3 points behind Chelsea. And I don't really get what Tuchel can do with a bunch of players whose mentality just stinks at the moment. Yeah, they don't look interested, and I don't know how you motivate that. And it's a worrying thing for me going into this because all right, we've only got a couple of games left, but if Arsenal go on a good run now and beat West Ham and win their next couple of games, I don't know what Chelsea are going to do. You look at our run of games, yeah, we should be winning them. We haven't got anyone massively hard left to play. But the way we're playing at the moment, we're just so unpredictable. We can't draw games against you guys. We should have beat you 3-4-0 off the park. Today, Everton didn't really do much. They just, they were like a 13th man. Their fans, them fans were behind them. And yeah, well done to Everton. That's what I'm going to say. They really stepped up today, the fans, and and they deserved it ultimately because
Look, I agree with where you're coming from, and so many of your goals have been mistakes, and that's why for me there's a concentration issue, there is a commitment issue, and there's an overarching issue because of this takeover, and it's this. I think there is this sense of, and I know that you listen to Thomas Tuchel's words, and Chelsea fans have been drinking the PR Kool-Aid a little bit in the sense of. He's like, I'm committing myself to the club, irrespective of the new owners. And that for me is code for I'm willing to be here next year, but I have no idea what these new owners want. I don't think they're going to get rid of Thomas Tuchel, but it wouldn't be the first time that new owners come into a club and they want to make their own mark. They want to bring in their own managers, their own style of play, their own players. And because this has taken so long, considering that the shortlist was made nearly a month ago, I just think it's getting into everybody's heads around what are we fighting for, what are we playing for, where are we going next year. And the story today from The Athletic, highly credible I think it was from Simon Johnson, who is very well respected, about teams working on packages to try and sign Mason Mount. It would be inconceivable under the Roman ownership for anyone to come for one of your best young up-and-coming. It just wouldn't have happened. Now it's almost like teams fancy their chances, which tells me that in the inner circles of football, there's talk of problems. There's talk of issues behind the scenes. And that shouldn't be ignored by Chelsea fans, in my opinion.
Our problem's not only that. And obviously, I think it was Mason Mount and Reece James. Apparently, Real Madrid are interested in Reece James as well. But when you look at some of the players that we have brought in and the players that have been at Chelsea for a number of years now, it's very easy to point out a handful of them that doesn't deserve to be here or just not good enough. And we really do. And as much as we need to buy players, we really need to get rid. We really need a full rebuild. I keep saying it. And we spent 200 million thinking we had a great squad, and our depth got found out. And now we're back to square one, where we actually need to get rid of players. We need to replace the players that are leaving because they're not signing contracts. And this is going to take a couple of seasons. It's not something that we can turn around and get done in the short-term period. This is why us as Chelsea fans are going to have to be patient, unfortunately. This is going to happen. But the most important thing out of all of this is making sure that Thomas Tuchel wants to stay, because he's going to want to win things. And if he's going to want to win things, you're going to have to back him, and you're going to have to give him the funds, like you said. And the new owners are going to have to show that from the outset. So a lot to come for Chelsea, mate.
Mate, no doubt about it. Jem, appreciate you coming back on, mate. Long time no speak. We'll chat again soon. Top man. Thank you, bro. Thank you. We're going to speak to a Tottenham fan now. Young Dan is on with us. Big Spurs fan. Big win for them today. Hit the like and share button. Let's do this, people. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing good. Good result for us. Huge for the top four. And now I'm waiting for the Arsenal game to start. And that's going to be huge for us as well.
Yeah, massive. A huge result. And yeah, a lot of Spurs fans saying not the best performance. Again, I was watching and I thought you did all right today, to be fair. But you've laid that gauntlet down to Arsenal now. Like, how do you think things are going to go for them today after your very important? Do you think they'll handle that pressure away at West Ham?
I think they will, to be honest. Obviously, I'm hoping for a West Ham win. But I think Arsenal, they've just picked up some form out of nowhere. They had a horrible run of form, and then they beat Chelsea, and then they started going on a good run of form. I think West Ham, they have a good record against West Ham, but I think if it does happen, it will be because of the young, unexperienced players not being able to handle the high pressure. But I still think Arsenal's going to win this game. Where I think it's going to go down to is the North London derby.
Yeah, a lot of Spurs and Arsenal fans both think the same thing on that. It's going to come down to that game. A word though on Son, 27 assists and goals this season in 31 games. What's your thoughts on him as a player? Where do you think he stacks up in the Premier League right now? Right
now, maybe not the best player. Obviously, Mo Salah's smashing at it. Son's right there at the top. He's world class, really. Son Heung-min, we're so lucky to have him on our team. He had a poor run of form. I remember there was this 4-game period where he didn't look like Son. But after that, he's just come back, and that goal today was honestly, I don't know if you remember that goal that he scored against Arsenal in the North London derby where he cut in and smashed it into the top corner. That goal was like a repetition of that from the other side. So we're really lucky to have him on our team, and the connection that he has with Harry Kane is telepathic.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's going to be one of the most key things I think for Spurs to keep or address in a perfect way in the summer, because it isn't just how good they both are. It's, as you say, it's that partnership between the two of them, and it's something where if Antonio Conte is allowed to build quality around it, who knows how far it can go. We know Antonio Conte is a brilliant manager. We know they're world class, but it's about giving him what he wants. And Kulusevski, Bentancur, great, but it's 4 or 5 players of similar level or above. Add that to this Spurs squad, and you lot could be real serious players. Maybe not title contenders next year, but dangerous in the cups, top 4 certainty. And if you make the Champions League, who knows? It's knockout football, and anything can happen. Dan, really appreciate you coming on, having your say, young man. Top man. We'll speak to you again soon. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Next on the show, we are going to, who are we going to speak to next? We're going to get Gary on, Gary the Lion, who I assume is a Chelsea fan. What are you saying, Gary?
Hi, Terry. How's it going?
Yeah, okay, my friend. What do you want to say?
Can you hear me? No, man. I just wanted to say that this was a real...
You're breaking up a little. Oh, he's breaking up. Call back with better signal. So he was breaking up. We're going to go to another call instead. We're going to speak to Nathaniel. What are you saying, Nathaniel?
Yo, big up, Terry. Everton are a disgrace to football. I couldn't believe from the first minute these guys going in dirty challenges. They're just sad. Everton, they're a sad team to watch. If we play like that against a big team, we'd get hammered for playing like that. Listen, yes, Everton they got a little win, but the referee, they were paying the referee, man, because the amount of time wasting they had. I couldn't believe it. How every single decision went for them. I couldn't every single decision. And listen, Mason Mount, we need to speak about him. And I'm gonna call out these big Chelsea accounts on Twitter, Alex Goldberg, Nini. They don't criticize Mason Mount, but they criticize every single player. I literally just saw a minute ago They criticise Kovacic today. They criticise Havertz. They criticise everybody else except for Mount. Mount gets away with so much stuff. I will never believe it because this guy he's average. He's not even good enough for Chelsea, but he always gets away with the same old crap. And listen, Tuchel, he has to play Lukaku in this game. I don't know. Yes, Lukaku's been bad, but he has to play Lukaku for the aerial threat. Harris wasn't the best today, but come on, man. The team, I'm disappointed. It's just funny because some Chelsea fans wanted Alonso to stay after he scored that little goal against Man United. But listen, Alonso, Aspie, this team is trash. Like, rival fans say we have a good squad. This squad's not even better than Liverpool's squad. Liverpool's squad's much better than this squad. We've got an average squad, which we're not even going to compete next season. Forget next season. We're not competing for the next 3 years by this rate with all these players, with the Deadwood. Listen, we're just so trash, man. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
I hear your pain in your voice. I really, really do, Nathaniel. I've got a bit of an echo there. Top man for coming on and having your say. Appreciate your opinions. Nathaniel, not happy there. Not happy with the squad. Calling out big Chelsea accounts for not condemning Mason Mount. What do you all think and make of that? We have a super chat here that says, wow, the salt. Everton are a team fighting relegation. If they have to win dirty, they win dirty. Your team was rubbish. End of. Yeah, listen, you can't blame Everton for playing the way they did. It literally needed to happen. Terry, I'm back in the studio next week. Don't worry about that. I've actually got an Achilles injury as well. I've got to go to the hospital later. I think I might have ruptured my Achilles tendon, which is not good. But yeah, back in the studio next week, no doubt, my friend. Maybe Tuchel isn't trying and he is preparing for an FA Cup. So versus Liverpool, you guys will be drilled just to beat them. Maybe. And sometimes we've seen teams go into big finals as the massive underdogs based on form and win. 2017, Chelsea versus Arsenal. No one thought Arsenal could do it. Equally, Baku, everybody was backing Arsenal. Chelsea had no chance. They won. Man United versus Chelsea, FA Cup final 2018. Antonio Conte versus Jose Mourinho. Everybody, Chelsea back in Man United because Conte's form was bad and they won. So maybe this is an omen. Maybe there'll be some complacency from Liverpool. This is going to be easy because of how Chelsea are playing, but they will want a little bit of form going into that game. Much love to Terry, Alan, the Spurs fan that hopped on. Thank you very much, Josh. I really appreciate that super chat. Next on the show, Terry Tibbs is here, a Liverpool fan. I'm interested to get his take on this. What are you saying, mate?
Hi, mate. I just wanted to say I agree with what you're saying there about Chelsea being the underdogs. However, Arsenal win today. They're 3 points behind Chelsea with 4 games left. That's 12 points to play for. You know, Spurs are 5 points behind Chelsea. This form for Chelsea couldn't come at a better time for Liverpool as a Liverpool fan. They're going to have one eye on the FA Cup and one eye looking over their shoulder because they're now thinking, hold on a minute, you know, we're getting dragged into something here that we should have been well clear of. So from a Liverpool fan perspective, today was a brilliant result. Still think Everton are going to go down with the games that they've got left and the teams that they've got to play. But I want to get onto the point about the Chelsea thing that you made and why do you think that they've dropped off? I'll tell you why. Because sometimes in football, managers can be a bit too transparent with the fans and make things public. He did it in the interview with Rudiger saying about Rudiger was leaving. Why couldn't he leave till after the ownership was dealt with? You know, that's going to have a massive impact. Rudiger's one of the best centre-backs in the league. Who are they going to replace him with? You know what I mean? Then you've got other reports coming out saying teams are going after Mason Mount. That's going to harm Chelsea Football Club. I think the whole Chelsea fiasco from the Chelsea board or whoever's in charge of Chelsea could have been dealt with a hell of a lot better. And they could have said to Thomas Tuchel, listen, hold off on anything and saying anything about any players leaving until the ownership fiasco was dealt with. We don't need any more bad press. We don't need any more pressure on the players on the pitch. And I think it's been absolutely pivotal and paramount to Chelsea's fall-off.
I could not agree with you more in everything that you've said. And I think that Tuchel is very open and very honest. And there's been times where I've really enjoyed that when they've lost the game and he said, it's on us. It's brass. It's not the referee. It's not the lights. It's on us. We weren't good enough today. But I just think there's so much uncertainty at the club that I think it's playing on people's minds somewhat. And we've seen this happen before with teams, and we'll probably see it happen again. There's no doubt. But yeah, you must be confident. Again, if Arsenal do win, the game has just kicked off. We're live after it. If Chelsea get dragged into this, if they were to inexplicably miss out on a top 4 position, I mean, what a disastrous season it would be for them.
But there's got to be the context behind it is they spent 200 million in the summer. They brought in Werner, they brought in Lukaku, everything else. They've spent 200 million on what? Do you know what I mean? That's. I said long ago on one of your shows, Spurs did it years ago, and David was on, and he laughed at me, and I said to him, "You want to be careful with buying all these players for 200 million." Spurs did it with Gareth Bale, and they sold them, and they went out and bought 4 or 5 new starters to come in the team. Can't remember who they were off the top of my head, but Spurs were absolutely diabolical after that. And I said, there's going to be this thing here where everyone thinks because Werner's banging in 30 goals in Germany, I didn't think he fitted Chelsea from the word go, just because of the style of play, just because of the club that they are. There's certain players that fit certain clubs. Look at Klopp's recruitment, the likes of Luis Diaz, the way he runs. There's certain players that fit certain clubs. And I was laughed at for saying that basically Chelsea might not do well. I also put a bet on Chelsea to win the league as well, might I add. So I'm a few quid down. But, you know,
yeah.
But the thing is, the whole top and bottom of this is the form that Chelsea are in is brilliant for Liverpool. And you were right in saying that the underdogs do go in sometimes. But when the underdogs are looking over the shoulders at the dogs that are behind them, trying to bite their ankles, you know, it's a whole different ball game.
Mate, you could be absolutely right. And you can tell by the way Chelsea fans are reacting. They're not really getting angry at what people are saying because they know in their heart of hearts that this is not a great time for them. But Terry Tibbs, great call, my friend. I'm sure we'll speak again soon, brother.
See you soon, Tej.
Cheers, mate.
Smash that like button. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Make sure you are hitting that like button, people. Ram to come on, Alex to come on. I'm trying to get to as many people as possible and watch this Arsenal West Ham game as well. Ram's here with me now. What are you saying, mate?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Terry took quite a lot of what I was going to say, which is a little bit of a bummer, but we get it out there. But just on this whole performance leading into the FA Cup, just to add on that, I want to cast your minds back to, I know Chelsea, Tottenham are 2 different kettles of fish in terms of winning trophies, but before that Dinamo Zagreb game, they had a bad run of form where they just couldn't get a win to save their lives. I'm wondering if Chelsea has that same thing, because having that sort of losing / not winning mentality is like a disease. It's very hard to get rid of. It is very hard to get rid of. And when you're constantly having that and not putting in good performances, it will have its toll. And against a team, whether it be Manchester City or Liverpool, it's very hard to overcome that and face a very, very dominant team. And this game, and in saying that, this season, it just shows that the levels behind Chelsea compared to the likes of Liverpool and City are there to be seen. They're 16 points behind us, and they're not. People had this false narrative that their squad was that good, and a lot of Chelsea fans now are saying, let's get rid of some of these players because they're just not good enough. Where compare it to City and Liverpool, there's maybe 1 or 2 players that will be like, okay, fine, you had your time. We'll move you on from now and bring in some more younger blood. So I think this Chelsea rebuild will be longer than people expected. It's not going to be like Roman. Roman's not there to spend however many money on certain players in one transfer window. With the likes of Bowley, they will want to keep it around about 3 players per season or 4 players per season. We don't know. So I think Chelsea fans need to get that into their heads, because it's not going to be a quick rebuild anymore. It's going to take a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what the plan is, this very much could be the case. There's no doubt about that at all. Ram, thanks for the call, my friend, and we'll speak again soon. Top man, thank you. Tyler wants to come on and have his say now. What are you saying, Tyler?
Hey, what's up, Terry? Thanks for having me on. Sorry to hear about your Achilles. I hope you get better real quick.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine, my friend. What do you want to say, my bro?
I'll make it quick. First of all, we played horrific today. There's nothing to say. Every single one of our players should be embarrassed. The amount of times we lost the ball. You know, I'm not going to go in on anybody individually. One thing I really did want to touch on was everybody's hating on Mason Mount and saying Mason Mount is a terrible player at Chelsea and stuff, but he's our highest goal scorer and our highest assister this season. And as much as Chelsea has struggled this season, that's got to say a lot. How we always talk about, top performers performing in lower teams. Imagine if they were to go to a team like Liverpool or Real Madrid or Manchester City. Like, with the things that have been going on around Chelsea this season, Mason Mount has been doing great. And I think it all started with the Lukaku interview and buying a player for $100 million that didn't do anything this year. And then on top of that, for everything to be going the way it has at Chelsea, I think it's really starting to take effect on all of the players. And, you know, Rudiger leaving, Christensen leaving, Aspie leaving, Alonso leaving. A lot of the players are unsure about where they're going to be next year, about what their team's going to look like. It's just, you know, ridiculous that people would want to, like, Mason Mount has more goals and assists than Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne this season. You know, like, it's crazy that people want to sell him. That all that talk on the Terrace and all these other platforms blows my mind.
Well, you got to look at it this way. The fact that I believe these athletic reports. So I've got to read them in a bit more detail, but there are three teams in the top 6, not including Chelsea, want him. I can't imagine that Spurs would ever put a dossier together to buy a Chelsea player, because Chelsea would never say yes. So that basically means it's 3 of either City, Liverpool, Man United, or Arsenal that are after him. Now, even if you take out one of Man United and one of Arsenal, you're left with City and Liverpool looking at him. Okay, I actually don't think City are. I think it's Liverpool, Man United, and Arsenal that are looking at the possibility, right? Plus Real Madrid and a few others who are rebuilding. If all those teams want the player, there's a player in there. This is the Man United fans do this with Marcus Rashford. He's always been dead. Yeah, that's why some of the best teams in Europe right now are talking to his family to try and sign him. He's absolutely. It don't make sense. Like if only Bournemouth wanted to buy Mason Mount, then they would maybe be right. But loads of top teams want him. So no, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like what happens in these circumstances is people pull on their long-standing agendas, players they dislike versus players they like more. It's here's a great chance for me to throw this guy under the bus or moan about him, when actually Mason Mount has been one of your better players this year. Azpilicueta has been poor in a few games recently, but he's been so good for you over this course of time. He kind of gets a buy on this, where if it was Christensen gets so much more stick because he's never been liked as much. And I guess what it boils down to. But listen, Tyler, great call, my friend. Commiserations about the defeat today, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon, brother.
Thank you so much.
Top man, thank you. Next up on the show, Alex is here. What are you saying, mate?
What's going on, Terry?
Yeah, I like the new haircut. What are you here to say?
Disappointed, but I predicted actually a loss. I thought they were gonna lose because we were in bad form, and when Chelsea goes in a slum, it goes for a couple of games, you know. So it's like we need to get that STD off of us, pretty much. That's what like as soon as antibiotics are gonna work, antiviral medication, that we will kick in. The minute that we're gonna realize that top 4 is in jeopardy, I think defense will come in. But I think a couple of people said things that a bunch of players are affected by Real Madrid loss, and I think it's true, because the way that you perform sometimes, the way we played in the second leg in the Championship League, it kind of give Chelsea players gave everything to win the second leg, and you lost. And it would I think that's more problem for Chelsea right now, because than for example the new ownership and stuff like that. So that's the situation what I think we're going through. But today performance, there's no individual players that actually play good, not a single one. But I will come to defense of the player that I actually don't like, Jorginho, and I'm still waiting for Tuchel to explain why he was dropped, because I thought he was actually fine. The problem I had with player was actually Robin Loftus-Cheek. And it's not how good he is when he's running with the ball. That's not my problem with him. It's my problem with him to be available for center backs to find them, because stats on the first half was Thiago Silva had more possession of the ball and passes than any other Chelsea players. How is that possible for center back to have that many passes than midfield? That means something and people they say that Everton wasn't pressing us. Everton was pressing us and killing us. The problem with our possession, we possessed the ball, but by Thiago Silva. But Thiago Silva is not possessing the ball in the other half. He's possessing the ball in the back. I don't need that kind of possession stats. It's seriously, I think Jennifer's statue. Seriously, people, I will give him a statue when we'll build him for him in Italy. Until then, my biggest problem was today is I don't think Chelsea actually wants to play. I think the season is over. I think they're waiting for the final of FA Cup. That's what it is. but I blame Tuchel for some for things of it. And for me, it was a couple of things. I don't know what Lukaku did, not Lukaku, but front three did in the last 3 games that they deserve to play every 3-4 games. Not Lukaku, but the front three that played today. Why did they do to deserve the starts? Mount, Kai Havertz, and Timo Werner. What did they do for the past 3 games that actually deserve to start today? I want to know that. And
Mate, great question.
My worrying thing about it, if you remember, we are good in the Championship League last season, but we are bad in the Premier League. We actually qualified because of the other results. I kind of see the trend again. I don't think we're playing good for to get the top 4. I hope Arsenal and West Ham, not West Ham, and Spurs will battle their chances to get top 4 versus us. Because the minute that you put it on Chelsea, we are too fragile of a team to be playing under pressure consistently. And the Premier League is the one that I'm going to criticize Tuchel in. He's great at the Championship League and stuff, but the Premier League is the one that I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not saying Tuchel out, people, before you shoot me.
No, I get that, but you're absolutely right to be able to criticize things where you see them. Alex, great call, great passion. I can see the frustration, mate, and we'll chat again soon. Top, man. Thank you, Al. Thank you. We have a super chat here that says it's extremely rich for Liverpool and City fans, clubs with stable owners, to criticize Chelsea's dip in form when it is expected to happen when there is uncertainty with the ownership of the club. And I do agree. I think that's a massive part of this. I really do. Dexter says people comparing recent Mount rumors to Eden Hazard and Rudy clearly don't understand that these two are academy products. Chelsea through and through. It will take more than this to get them to leave the club. I agree. But it's about understanding these new owners. And one thing that's been quite mooted on Chelsea-specific accounts and channels, there was this big no to Ricketts because of the immorality, the Islamophobic element, and I got why. But it did deflect from people challenging the questions. Hang on, we've got all these financial consortium and investment companies buying us. What does that mean? How no investment company buys a football club without trying to make money out of it. How are you going to make money? Maybe the process is to buy cheap, sell high. Maybe it's to put you on the stock market and buy and sell shares to make money. Maybe it's to use the club as an asset to purchase other businesses, whether it be property, land, shopping malls. Who knows? This stuff is what Chelsea fans should be asking. This stuff is different, but very, very important indeed. And they should have had the same energy for this as they did for the no Ricketts, because from a football club standpoint, that's why teams suddenly want to be looking at some of your players almost. If the rumors are right about what we're hearing about your club, maybe these players become attainable. That's the big point that's being made here. I'm sorry to everyone else that's backstage. We'll try and take some more calls later after West Ham versus Arsenal. I've got to go watch the game. Smash the like button before you leave. Thank you to all my members, all my super chatters. They mean a great deal to me. Thank yous are now available on the Football Terrace as well. So if you're watching the playback and you fancy giving a super chat and donating to keep the Football Terrace going, you can do that on uploaded videos or the replaybacks, not just live. So I know a lot of you like to do that and donate to the Terrace, and it means a great deal to us. So you can now do that. But until next time, my friends, take care. Goodbye.